We see it every year, and every year it looks as beautiful as the last. The wheat field ready for harvest, especially at sunrise or at sunset. A vision that speaks softly to our eyes and speaks loudly to our love for the land. And every year, as light and shadow paint living murals in the fields of Northwest Ohio, we somehow sense that this is more than just agribusiness, that what is grown here is more than just row crop. For in this meeting of field and sky, we find our legacy of livelihood and labor. And when the sun hangs low on the midsummer landscape, and the heavy heads of gold begin to nod in the wind, the labor of harvest begins.
My mother and dad really weren't farmers. They bought a farm when I was a teenager, and he and I started farming, Dad and I.
Howard Valmont of Sandusky County finds himself perched in the cab of his International Combine this summer, looking out at a pregnant wheat field full of promise. He's no stranger to it. For almost 60 years he's kept watch, wondering if the wheat crop will produce a good yield.
And I planted almost double this year. It just looked to me like my fingers that it might make a little more money than I did past years on the other crop. I'll know when I get through whether it did or not.
So far, the yields have been fairly optimistic, maybe as high as 75 to 80 bushels to the acre. Exactly how much will depend on the weather during harvest season, which can shrink the wheat each time it rains. The forecast looks good today. That's the strange covenant that all farmers have with nature. Hard work and skillful planning never guarantee success. Summer's gold may be planted by the hand of man, but its value is ultimately decided by the grace of God.
If you get it in on time, get a good start in the fall, get a good cover, get a good root system, maybe you'll usually be all right.
The value of wheat, however, must be measured by more than just its yield per acre or its price per bushel. It can also be weighed on the scales of humanity. For each tiny kernel is one of the fundamental building blocks of life itself, a key link in the human food chain, a common link to our ancient ancestors or to our distant cousins. The wheat that is harvested in this field in Wood County could very well end up in a loaf of bread on a dinner table in another hemisphere, or on your own breakfast table. For wheat is the humble miracle that feeds the world. It's not just a slogan, but a frequently forgotten fact. Perhaps this is its real beauty, and what makes it something to behold. And many do, whether it's farmers like Howard Valmont, who capture its raw energy in their combines, or those of us lucky enough to capture its raw beauty in a camera. The vision of wheat speaks to all of us, and is best heard when the summer sun turns the green to gold.